the participants are joining. We will be starting the FTP in few minutes. Thank you. Good morning, all. I am Mubina, your host for this session. I welcome you all to the final day of this 5 days faculty development program on success strategy to publish in journal with high impact factor, organized by Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, IFERP, in association with New Horizon College of Engineering, Bangalore, and Malla Reddy Engineering College, Hyderabad. Institute for Engineering Research and Publication, IFERP, is a non-profitable professional association meant for research and development in the field of engineering, science, technology, and management studies. IFERP is on its way to digitize innovation processes through our professional networking services and thus providing an integrated virtual scientific community, mutual engagement, exploring potentials of researchers, creating a cooperative and collaborative academic environment. As a leading organization for scientific researchers and assistants, IFERP promotes knowledge sharing in engineering, science, technology, and management studies through its scientific conferences and events, establishing student chapters, professional development programs, career and skill development programs, faculty development programs, webinars, workshops, journals, magazines, and proceedings. IFERP have stepped in and entrenched strong network in many developed and developing countries like India, Iraq, Maldives, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, Taiwan, Vietnam, UAE, etc. Our academic partners, New Horizon College of Engineering, is an autonomous college affiliated to Visvesvaraya Technological University, approved by the All India Council for Technical Education, AICTE, and University Grants Commission. It is accredited by NAAC with the A grade and National Board of Accreditation. New Horizon College of Engineering is located in the heart of the IT capital of India, Bangalore. Malla Reddy Engineering College is a parent college of the Malla Reddy Group of Institutions, Hyderabad, Telangana, founded by Sri C.H. Malla Reddy. This institute was established in the 2002, is approved by the AICTE New Delhi, and was affiliated to the Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University in 2008. In 2008, this college was accredited by NBA. The college has been certified by NAAC as a A-grade institution in the Hyderabad region. Now, coming to the first session of this program, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Kumar Singh, Associate Dean, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Technical University, an entrepreneurship and startup incubation expert, researcher, academician, trainer, consultant. He is presently serving as a professor, head of Department Commerce, head research and development, member Academic Council, chairman of boards of studies, chairperson, Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Skill Development, president of Institution Innovation Council, chairperson, Center for Advanced Research and Development in the School of Management Sciences, Varanasi. Also, he is a chairperson of Center for International Relations and Accreditation, coordinator Center for Public Policy Development, senior member IQAC, senior member NAAC Accreditation, coordinator of consultancy cells, and coordinator of MDP. He has published research papers in various national and international journals and presented papers in national and international conferences, summits, and workshops. He has written books, edited books, book chapters, produced over 100 startups. He's been invited in over 200 various foreign, central, state, and private universities, IIMs, IIT, IIIT, Ministry of MSME, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, management institutes, government institutions, etc. It's a pleasure to have you as a speaker for this session, sir. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, madam, for inviting me. First, I would like to thank IFERP, especially Mr. Karthik Raja, all the associated engineering institutions, and the entire organizing team members. I would also like to thank all the respected faculty members who are attending this MDP. Today, my deliberation will be on an entirely different topic. Normally, we don't touch that topic of qualitative research, and that is case writing, case analysis, teaching, and its publication. As we all know, teaching learning process, the case study is a very pertinent part. I remember one of the quotation of Rudyard Kipling that I keep 6 honest friends who taught me all I know, and their names are what, why, when, who, where, and how. These exploratory tools are very important in the teaching learning process. Normally, in the field of management and commerce education, this case study method is being used. The reason behind that, although majority of you may be from the technological background, so in technological background, you are having certain machines, certain apparatus, certain instrument through which you can examine the things, find out the things. In medical education, we are having a human body on which we can experiment. For science students, the laboratory is there. For engineering technology also. But for the management and commerce stream, we don't have anything like that. So we have to depend upon what has happened in the past and how it has been handled now. This can be anything. This can be a person. This can be any industry. This can be any group activity, social group activity, any event. But these all are normally related with certain problem or certain consequences which has happened. So what we do in a case study, we try to do a research and analyze it over a period of time, why it happened and what was the reason behind it. See, in the corporate world normally, as I spent more than 2 decades in the corporate world before coming to academics, we have to do only 2 things. And this equally happens with you also. Although you may be engineering graduate or engineering or science graduate, science researcher, technological researcher, but students go to the corporate, whether it's from technology background, science background, commerce background, management background. In the entire corporate scenario, if you see, a corporate profession has to do 2 things in their life. First, they have to take a right decision at the right time in the right manner. And second, they need to ensure that their decision is being executed properly and successfully. Only these 2 things are. If you take a wrong decision, the organization may collapse. If you take a right decision, the organization can get success. And even if you have taken a right decision, if it is not executed properly, then again the organization will get failed. So many big organization, multinational organization, you may have observed that they failed. Why they failed? We cannot say that the decision was wrong. They all have the top-notch people from the ITs and IIMs, Harvards, MITs. In spite of these things, they have failed. Maybe in the execution process, some wrong has been done. So how a student will come to know about this? Even I'm a professor. If I have to share my experiences, I worked in 5 industries before coming to academy. So I can only share my experiences of the 5 industries. But with the case study method, we can share the real-time experiences of even 5,000 industries. Not only industry, there is specific domains also. Maybe the marketing, maybe the finance, maybe the HR, maybe the operations. So in entire case study process, we have seen that some thesis is being produced, and to counter that, some antithesis has been produced. And this generates some principles, creates some principles, and diminish also some principles. So actually, the case study process is important in the teaching learning for understanding the decision-making process. What we should do, what we should not do. Because corporate world is a very complicated world. The entire corporate phenomena is a very dynamic phenomenon. It's not a static phenomenon. And in the classroom, as a teacher, our responsibility is to make our student through a problem-based learning. You must be knowing about the LOCM, Learning Outcome-Based Curriculum Framework, which has been directed by the UGC. And outcome-based learning is on focus. So even in the field of technology also, engineering also, what we are teaching, we see in the form of some projects, some models, that whether the student has been able to apply that or not. So case study is basically understanding of the application of specific principles, theoretical principles, whether it has been applied and has got the same result. If the same result is there, the thesis is okay. And if it is not, then you create antithesis in front of that. So it's an ongoing process. And good thing is that when in the corporate you come on the top, you must know everything, almost everything. You cannot say that I'm expert in marketing, so I should not know about the production or operation or finance or HR. And in our management programs, especially in commerce program also, we teach almost all these subjects. So case studies are being developed in different functional areas. It is not only in marketing, it may be in HR, it may be in finance, it may be other areas also. So what happens when the students review these type of cases, they come to understand the reason why this happened and what should have been done to avoid it, maybe a wrong situation. So what happens to this reasoning process through the case studies, students obtain a deeper understanding of all the relevant factors in a particular problematic situation. This is what we do. So the most important thing which is connected with the case study method is that it put the student in an active learning mode. Not only what happens, we are giving lectures, students are just hearing it. Their mind may be somewhere else. But when you put up a case and you involve the students in the decision-making process through that case study, the mental faculties get awake. So you need to make our student in active learning mode, not just a theoretical deliberation, and connect with the theory. If suppose you are teaching Maslow's need hierarchy, motivation. So if that case is put up and you apply all the different levels of motivation with that case, people will be able to understand more easily. Students will be able to understand more easily. And above all, the most important thing which develop is the analytical ability of the student, which is very important. So an instructor, Here in our case, we are professors. So this is our responsibility to make them think in an analytical way, analytical um, mindset. We have to develop the analytical mindset and connect the theory with the practical. Because all the case studies give a real life pop situation. There is another kind of case study also, where case is constructed in a hypothetical situation. And when I was doing my MBA from BHU in 1990, I passed out. At that time, mostly the American or European cases or Japanese cases or some other cases of foreign countries were talked to. Indian cases were very few. But good thing is that nowadays our faculties like you are working hard on the Indian cases. And I always emphasize to work on the local cases. I've read so many local cases. In your city, some entrepreneurs has developed. One institute is from the Hyderabad. I went to Hyderabad 3 years back. Paradise Biryani, very famous. Can we have a case study on these kind of ventures or like that? So this kind of thing should be developed more, because this will help the budding entrepreneurs to grow. If they will see that how a local entrepreneurs from Hyderabad has emerged and spread their wings all over India, they can also do the same. I also did so many cases on the Varanasi enterprise. So basically, when you go through a case study, it is a multi-dimensional, multifunctional analysis. And this helps us to take a decision and execution. As I told you, it tells us what are the do's and don'ts, what are the pros and cons, what is the cost-effect relationship. Normally, people study the success cases of any industry, any individual. But we should also develop the failure cases. Failure cases tell us what we should not do. So these are few of the things. Normally, if you deeply analyze the cases, there are various kinds of cases. One we call an explanatory case. Here, the researcher seeks to answer a question that seeks to explain the relationship between the subject and the hypothesis in detail. So you create a hypothesis and try to test it through the facts which are available related with the subject, maybe industry, maybe individual. Second, we call exploratory case. Exploratory cases are used when the researchers are exploring a relationship between the subject and the hypothesis, where the hypothesis has no clear set of possible outcome. So again, things become interesting. There is another way, multiple case studies. This kind of study enables the researcher to explore the differences within or between the cases. For example, if you take two companies in the same area and analyze their case. So why one company had failed and why another has got success? Or why in two companies, one is getting more success, one is getting less success? This can be one of the study. This is called the multiple case study. Then there is an intrinsic case study, where the researcher has an interest to the case study, and there is intent is to understand the case better. You just explore it. You take one case already which has been made, and you try to explore it and try to go in deep of that case system by giving the due consideration to the real author. Likewise, instrumental case study, it is used to accomplish something more than just understanding a particular situation. So these kind of case studies are there. So normally it is taken from the real life situation. It can consist of the many parts, and each part usually ends with problem and point for discussion. So if you are going through a case, in every 2-3 lines, some situation comes and some problems comes, and you have to answer that, and you have to discuss that in the classroom. This is the beauty of the proper case writing. You know, I always used to say in a lighter mood that a case study like a interesting story where suspense is there. So at every moment you want to know what is going to happen, what is going to happen, what is going to, and why it happened. So when you are writing a case, this is your writing skill, but without compromising the fact. You don't have to distort the fact to make it interesting. No. But it should be in such a way that people should read it like a story, a real story. And if you are making a case, developing a case, writing a case, this should have a sufficient information for the reader to treat the problem and the issues, because they have to take decisions. So in real corporate world also, you can take decision only when you are having the sufficient information. So likewise, your case must have that kind of sufficient data. So while developing case, I will tell you later on, the collection of data is a very important part. So you must have all the relevant data which helps in the decision-making process. It should be believed. It should not be so hypothetical that one cannot believe on that. So a case contains the settings, the personalities, the sequence of events. This is also very important. You have to take care of the chronology, one by one, because an event has occurred. So it has occurred through a specific way, specific sequence, where the problem has arisen, where the conflicts has arisen, because things are not simple in the decision-making process. So first I will start with the case writing. Because case, when it is written, only then you can analyze it, only then you can read it, only then you can teach it, and only then you can publish it. So case writing is basically a process that begins with the decision to use a case and ends with use of that case in class. So you develop a case, but what is the use of that case if it is finally not discussed in the classroom? Publication is not only important, it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate, I would like to say. You all are researchers. I'm also a researcher. We get happy when our cases or research is published somewhere. A line is increased in our CV. We get the promotion, we get the increments, we get the incentives. We post in the social media also, so that we can get a congratulations of friends. But whether our research has been discussed in our classroom, or how many times after publication we have studied our own research paper. I'm raising a very humble question in front of you, because this is also I've done. So I think this is our responsibility as a researcher, as a teacher. I'm not saying that I always do that. I should also do the same kind of thing. We all should go through our researches and try to put it in our classroom or lecture, but normally we write in those areas where we are proficient. Because research writing, a case writing is of no use if I'm just coming to the case part, if it is not discussed in the class. So what are the various steps in the case writing? First step is the case origin. You need to identify the need, why you are writing this case. As I've told you, why one should write the local cases. Reason is that if you want to develop the entrepreneurship in your region, whosoever is there, if any youngsters want to grow as an entrepreneur, they want to have their own startup, they should know who are the people around them who are successful or who are failure. Both are important. If they are failure, why they are failure? If they are successful, why they are successful? So key so you have to find out the need. Second step is to establish the need. So not only just you have to identify, you have to establish that okay, here the case study needs to be developed. So what you actually do? You search for the specific issues, ideas, or the individual or the organization, because you have to take the case information also. So you have to establish. Third, very obvious, you have to have an initial contact because you need the data, quantitative data, qualitative data. And fourth step, now the real data collection process. You gather the relevant information for the case from the relevant paper or the organization or some other sources, maybe secondary sources. Here I would like to say one thing very clearly, that it is not needed that you only collect the primary data. Many times it's a confusion. Suppose you want to write a case study on the success of the Aadhaar card. So how only individuals can give in, because Aadhaar card is a system. So you have to go through the various secondary data. What was the position before? What was the position after? There is one phase when the Aadhaar card was just identity mark. Now it is being connected with various direct benefit transfers. So you have to collect the various secondary data. So you have to collect the data. And then fifth step is to write the writing process. Here the organization and the presentation of data and information, because you have to, again, I'm telling you have to write in a sequential way, in a way that it should be interesting. A skill of storytelling is involved in that part, without compromising with the facts and figures. And then you finally release it by obtaining the permission from the appropriate organization or individual, because you are using it. In the hypothetical case studies, you may have gone through that many times. If the organization don't want to disclose their name, so we write ABC Limited or XYZ Limited, like that. So what are the various activities in the case writing process? It's a very complicated process, not that easy. So mainly 4 steps are there: the planning, organizing, drafting, and revising. In planning process, when you start planning for case writing, you identify the purpose of case writing task. What is the purpose behind that? You have to identify the learner's attribute, means who are the readers of your case study, who are the listeners of your case study. Obviously, the researchers and the students. So you have to understand their attitude, because this is kind of a psychology. And you decide what information should be put into a case. See, you will get bundles of information, but don't put like a garbage. You have to put only the real information, which is the need of that case. Unnecessary, all the information should not put. Many times you get unnecessary information. So an effective way to carry out the process, to ask yourself question for each action you take. So you become the reader. Although you are developer of the case, but you become the reader. Develop that empathy, that whether as a reader I would like to study this or no. Because too much unnecessary information can create a boredom in your case. This is not required. You should please remove it. So after planning, the second very important aspect is the organizing. You have data, you have planned it. Now you have to organize it. So this is what actually the arrangement of the ideas that support the purpose. So here, identify the problem. What are the major concern? And you should narrate. You should have the ability to narrate. Case writing is not easy. You should have the ability to narrate in the form of a story. Because people are actually studying it. They will read it. If it will be a mismanaged kind of arrangement, if your entire organizing of the case will be poor, then they will lose their interest. So structured in a narrative style and present the nature of the complexity of the case problem. You should come immediately on that part. Although in analysis, I will tell you the steps. Although it is, it is subjective area, but you have to deal it very objectively. So you have to keep in the mind that the information to be presented should justify your intention. What exactly you want to do. Researchers should not be confused. They should be very much focused. If you are not focused, you are not a researcher. Sorry. Because we need to be very focused in the classroom also. So when a case is not focused, how your deliberation will be focused? And while organizing, you should be ensured that the case should reveal the multi-dimensional phases of a problem. If a decision has been taken by any company, why it got failed, if you are making a case study on that, what wrong has been done on the marketing part, and how it has been connected with the finance part, operation part, innovation part, or other areas. And while doing this, always try to see the different perspectives and interpretations accordingly. So in a decision-making process, one should have a different perspective, try to analyze different phases and do the interpretation accordingly. Now, next step, which we call is drafting. So you have organized the things. Now you have to actually write down the things. So drafting is basically putting your ideas and thoughts down on paper. Although nowadays we use laptop for that purpose. But here the meaning of paper is that either you do on laptop it's okay. But it's a human psychology. You may have observed that also. Since you are a teacher, you are a professor. When we write on a piece of paper with a pen, our thought process is different. And when we just type on the keyboard, our thought process. So while typing on keyboard, our major thought process is to see whether there is any spelling mistake or not, whether there is a problem in the font or not, like that. But when you write on a paper with a pen, although it seems to be very conventional, outdated, old-fashioned to our young faculties, our young teachers, but this might be personally, whether you agree or not, it doesn't matter. But I feel comfortable. First I write it, then I start typing. Because I don't want to waste time on typing. First write down properly. When you have written, then typing becomes easier. And then okay, by going for the final touch, you can see the things. But it all depends on your way. It's not any fixed. But your creativity, your thought process should not be. This is what actually you have to take, whether you're typing on the laptop or writing on the paper first, because it seems to be a duplicacy of the job. So whatever the things are there, but take care of your thought process, because whatever you have collected the data, what you have planned, it should be drafted properly. Otherwise, because the drafted things will be published and that will be studied. So be very clear during the drafting. And what are the instructions? And initially, this is my advice. Initially, you just write down. Don't just focus on the grammatical errors and spelling errors and all these things. You check it later on. Because when you are typing, even so, the flow of your thought process should not be there. First, write it down. Then, when you start doing the proofreading, correct it, whatever you want to do. But when you have drafted, just ask you question. What is the central idea of the piece? Is this being reflected? And how the central idea of the case be supported, whether you are having a sufficient data to support it, because the decision maker has to take the help of the data. And the final stage is the revising. So this involves the rereading, evaluating, making changes to improve. And when you reread your own case study, be empathetic and be very objective, very critical. You have to criticize yourself. It's a biggest art. We don't criticize others. We criticize others. So while you are writing in, after you have written the things, and if you are reading it, and if you are critically examining, then you will search for the flaws, and then you will learn. So you need to know what to look in for your case, whether the major case components are being reflected in that or not. And this is advisable if you have some friends, some colleagues, or some senior person who is having some experience in that field, or even they don't have any experience but have a prudence mindset. You also involve them to read it and to give some advice. Sometimes they will give you excellent advice. So whether you are a self-reviewing or having someone else review, always ask few questions. Will the case produce the intended learning outcome? Very important. Whatever outcome you wanted, whether it is coming with that. Are the problem or the issues, whatever has been presented in the case, this is related with the learning outcome? Because case is some, issue is something else and outcome is something else, then it is not matching properly. So proper synchronization is important. Whether your case is sufficiently complete, focused, and balanced complex. This is a very important part. The complex is there, but it's a balanced complex. What situation or problem or issue is being there, whether it is being specifically mentioned, clarified or not, and whether it is being perceived as a realistic or not. All the action events, whatever you have mentioned, is in a sequential order, in a specific time frame and chronology. Whether all the events which you have mentioned are connected with appropriate transitional signals, because on one phase to another phase, if any event goes on, some transition may take place. And in the content, the case should be accurate. Don't take any wrong figure or manipulated data. So it should be accurate, relevant, and up-to-date. So this is, in brief, I told you about case writing. And this is important because if your case writing is okay, only then you can analyze in a proper way. During the analysis process, what you have to do, although again I'm telling you, this is a subjective process, but you have to read it in an objective way. While you are writing a case, give introduction of the case, background information of the case, define the issues, sub-issues, problems, sub-problems, or decision to be made very clearly. Then analyze the case data, details, interpret it, generate alternatives, because in decision-making process, normally it is difficult because you are in a dilemma. If we are not in dilemma, then what is the utility of decision-making process? Just take a decision. Decision-making process is important only because when we are in dilemma, whether we should this or not, whether we should do that or not, whether we should do both the things at a time or not, many kinds of dilemma. So you will have a different alternatives. Alternative 1, alternative 2, alternative 3, alternative 4. We may do this, we may do this, we may do this, we may do this, like that. So how you take the decision? If you are having a 4 ways, suppose you are on a square, there are 4 ways. One is going east, one is going west, one is going north, one is going south. Where will you go? So obviously, these alternatives, you will have some decision criteria for the selection. That to take any decision, what are the things which should be kept in our mind? This should be very. If I will stop the company, what will happen? If I will not stop the company, then what will happen? If you will just continue the company with the innovation, then what will happen? Everything, whatever your decision criteria has to be. And then with every decision criteria, what are the pros and cons? You analyze, evaluate, and select the preferred alternative. Every alternative you will let, and any alternative which is the best one, best decision you can take, that will emerge. And then you develop the action plan implementation. But at the same time, you should also interpret the outcoming and shortcomings of the results. What is its overall impact? And if you have any recommendation. So this is the fundamental ethical aspect, and when you are in a classroom, put the case and try to discuss with the students in that way, because this is a very important part. And in the last segment, case publication. So sequential order I have already told to you, but this is advisable to go through the format of the journals, because every journal is having a different format. So if you are having a fundamental data with you, whatever the format is, you can present your case in that way. And differences, if you have taken some secondary data, try to present the differences in APA format. Check the plagiarism level. This is also a very important part. It should not be more than 10%. Should go through the plagiarism checking on the Turnitin, or Turnitin will be much better for you, because for international publication, this will help you. In India, although Arpund is being given importance by the university, but I will suggest you to go for the Turnitin. Normally, 4,000 to 5,000 words are good for a case study, unless if it is demanded more. Have a proper margin, maybe 1-inch margin. Use Arial, Times New Roman, or Calvary, whatever is suggested in their format. Headings of 60-point size, subheadings 14-point size, body matter 12. Line and paragraph spacing 1.5. Justify the center alignment or justify. So these are fundamental things. By writing, you all know. And avoid any kind of copy paste. Please don't do this. This will be very harmful for you. Taking care of the table numbering, figure numbering, where this should be bold, whether it should be italic, where this should be underlined. These are fundamental things. And use your own language. Use your own language. And many softwares are there nowadays which can check your spelling mistakes, your grammatical errors. So you can take their help. It's good, because Many times, some grammatical errors are there, which creates a bad impression. So these are a few of the things. So the topic is very big, but we are having a time constant also. So thank you very much for your patience listening. And if anyone is having any question, I would be happy to answer. Thank you. If anyone is having any question, please raise your question or type in the chat box. I will see them.
Thank you so much, sir. The question answer session is live now. You can put up your questions in the question answer box, please.
I think there is no question from.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I believe the session was very informative for everyone of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now moving to the next session of this FDP, I welcome Dr. Sahar E-Vahdati, Assistant Professor, Othman Eob Abdullah Graduate School of Business, University Utara, Malaysia. She's been a PhD director for more than 2 years at Othman Eob Abdullah Graduate School of Business as well. She's a committee member of Academic Qualification, UUM Magazine and Sustainability sectors. She got a PhD with high distinction in Accounting and Finance from the University of Malla. She has received an MBA from Multimedia University in Malaysia and bachelor degree in Electronics Engineering. She has many international awards and certificates such as Fellow Chartered Management Institute of UK, British Accounting and Finance Association, Malaysian Institute of Accounts. She is also Emerald Training Case Study winner in 2020. She won many international grants such as the Foundation Sumitomo Japan and Ministry of Higher Education National Fundamental Grant of Malaysia. Additionally, she has been more than 50 published and accepted and under review in high-ranked journals as well as presentation certificates in international conferences. She has supervised more than 12 postgraduate students. She is an editorial board member of Management Association Journals in Emerald, editorial board member of International Journal of Emerging Markets in Emerald, and also the advisory board member of Asia Pacific Journal of Business Administration and Selangor Business Review. She has also organized many international academic industry training, workshops, and joint colloquiums in PhD levels. Meanwhile, she has had many industrial roles such as controlling engineer, senior accountant. And currently, she is R&D and quality assurance specialist for one of the best knowledge-based companies in Iran. Her research interests are mostly related to environmental, social, community, sustainability, accounting, quality assurance, corporate governance, and financial performance. It is an absolute pleasure to have you with us today, ma'am. You can go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for your introduction. So if possible, I will share my slides. Okay. I hope you can see the slides, right?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. So I think already, I mean that the panel, you introduced me, so no need to talk. And thank you so much, first of all, for letting me and giving me this opportunity to be the speaker in this session. What I'm going to talk about, and I hope that it is, and I hope and I really believe that it is very helpful for all of us, and it's how to write a literature review in simple steps. It is happening if you are a student in your thesis, if you are writing articles, or if you're writing a standalone literature review, which I will discuss later. So the agenda for today is we will talk about what is the literature review, why there is a need for the literature review, and why it is not, why does we shouldn't, what should be avoided in the literature review, what types of literature review we have, and what makes a good literature review actually. What steps, if we want to follow some steps, what steps helps you to write a good literature review? And because some people find it is like a headache, and how to organize all of these materials and previous researchers together. And they are in the section 4. We will talk about some frequently asked questions about literature review. Review the whole things. Okay. Well, what is the function of literature review actually? Why there is a need for literature review? So first we need to understand why there is a need for that. If we want to define a literature review, it's the objective, concise, critical summary of the published research relevant to the topic being researched in an article, right? So it is the survey, scholarly articles, books, journals, studies, and other materials, which is all should be answered your area of the work. So selected literature should give and establish a theoretical basis for the research. This justifies the need to conduct a research, right? And it's a comprehensive summary of previous research. So as a whole, we can see that all what we have written in the literature review should answer your research questions as a whole. What is not a literature review? This is important thing that you may write many things, right? But what is not a literature review? Means that just listing whatever the materials and references you have is not a literature review actually. It should directly answer your research questions, right? Means that if, for example, maybe you can see that simply, if you are writing, for example, the author X, just write like that there is a relationship between X and Y, okay? But this is just explaining or reporting what is the previous articles mentioned. Is not a literature review. Means that you need to critically analyze that one in order to answer your questions. This should be relevant. Otherwise, if you send the papers for the publication, it will be even this reject, because you cannot evaluate and critically analyze your literature review related to your topic. Okay, so what the good literature review should be? A good literature review is present a brief typology that orders articles, books, and to focus on debates, inconsistencies, tensions, and as a whole, for answering your research questions. Means that by writing, by reading the previous one, you need to find your topic, you need to find a research question in related to the your topic that you are going to do. And secondly, it should summarize the most relevant and important aspects of scientific literature related to the work. Means that it should connect the past. You should also see the, that the current research, and In the third step, you should synthesize the past and current research for your own topic and identify potential gaps related to that field. Okay, as a whole, you can see that it can be understood as a background of the field. Means that some, if research articles become in another way, we can say that introduction part is also a part of literature review, because you know that the numbers of the words writing for the articles is very limited. So you need to be very wise and bring your idea of the literature to the previous, to your own topic. We can find, we can just define a literature review as your bookshelf. In your own bookshelf, in your home, you don't put in any kinds of the book, right? You will choose the books or articles, magazines that you are interested in your favor or you are reading, right? So means that you will select. You don't need to cut off all the important things in that bookshelf. You will use the others that have just explained the frameworks, the method. You just combine it all for yourself in your bookshelf. It can be combination of the article, books, thesis, magazines, and everyone. And as a whole, we can call it as a literature review. So it means that it provides an understanding of the backgrounds of the field, identify which studies are important and which are not, to put together your bookshelf of a study. Okay. So after this, we want to see that what makes a good literature review. Before going to the, after this, that what makes a good literature review, I'm going to give you some steps what to do to write a literature review. But you need to know that what makes a good literature review. First, that it should have a historical background of the research. What does it mean? Means that you should analyze the historical studies. You should put it in your research because they are backbone of your research. Without them, you cannot have that much confidence, and you cannot show your competency to the journal editors or any researchers or your supervisors that how you are powerful in this field. Means that you need to bring first a very good source of the backgrounds for your research. As you can see, for example, here, there are many, there should be old, new, mix of all together, because all of them are related to, should be to your field of the study. And from them, you can find your ways. Okay, second one is that the current research context, questions, debate, and issues, okay, related to your field. You know that you're, as a researchers, that you're writing a paper, you are very, you can, I mean that you don't have too much talk, because there are, this is not a thesis. Even in the thesis is a broader concept, but that one in the papers publication is you have to write it, make it very squeezed and very informative, very strong, and squeeze maybe 2 paragraphs, even 1 page, no more than that. If so, means that all scope and research, current research areas that you have taught should be bring here. Means that you need to mention, okay, the previous studies which has done in 2020 or 2021 or 2019, they didn't fill this gap. They just make it as a future studies. So you need to grab this one and make it as a gap of the research and put it for your own. So that one can be your contribution. And then you will definitely finding the relevant theories, concepts, models. If you are in the science, if engineer, if you are in the business, in every field, you need to bring the important model, theories, concepts, facts that support your statement. Otherwise, you cannot justify your own words. So you need to find similar and relevant topics in your field that have used some theories, and then utilize that theories for your own subjects. And then the definitions of the terminology are also very important. Of course, in the science, there are some fixed terminologies like statistics, like many, we have some fixed, like temperature. I mean that there are some fixed, but some fields that you need to explain to the researcher, reader, that some information in order to understand. As a whole, you should write a paper very simple, that even if you give it to the high school student, they should understand it. Although it is technical, but they should understand it. Otherwise, if you see the sample of the good papers in high impact factor journals, you can see they are very simply talking. They are not making the things very complicated. Complication means that maybe even you as an author didn't understand the point. So brings all the terminologies important first when you want to start your talking. And then you need to expand the previous research. Of course, there are some gaps in the previous research. What your role is to make it close this gap. This is your role, and this can be your study that you, based on the literature have you done in that field, you should find how you can fix it. And then provide supporting evidence for a practical problems and issues, means that link practice with your research. That one you will be successful. So these are all items that helps for having a good literature review. That the good literature review should have these components. And why? Okay, now why there is a need for literature review? Because you need to have some understanding about your topic. Okay, let's say you want to have the topic in your mind, you want to study. You need to have some understanding. So the first thing in the role of the literature review is to increase your understanding in that field. Find what are the arguments, what are the conflicts. These are the roles that you can do. And then you need to identify gaps in the previous research. Okay, maybe author X mentioned in the last studies, which is related to your field, that these, for example, that issue need to be addressed in the future. So this is your role to grab it and just address the previous author. And in your contribution section, you will say that one of your contribution is to address the author X that mentioned there is a need for future studies. And then you will need, for your topic, you need to have a theoretical framework. Only with literature review, you can find the methodologies and the framework. First, for example, you want to see the effects of environment sustainability on human population, for example. Okay, so you don't have any idea, you don't know what theories have been used, what methodology can be used, what kinds of, it is qualitative, quantitative, what methods is best usable. The best thing is that you find the relevant theories in your fields, read, and then you will summarize the important methodologies and theories in your field of study. Then you can find your ways. And we have different types of literature review. The first one, it can be different from the structure, length, amounts, and the breadth of the content included. Okay, so we can have very selective literature review, comprehensive, standalone, and part of the broader work. For example, course assignment is in this field means that it is you will use very selective And standalone work means that you will only work on a very small parts of the things, and just your literature will be on that area. Journals, articles, studies is in, you will, why we call it selective? Because you will choose the literature related to your study only. And it can be later a part of a broader work, okay? Of course, dissertation is comprehensive and part of the broader work, and literature review analysis, which we have, for example, systematic review, meta-analysis review, bibliometric reviews, description reviews, all kind of these reviews are, we call it literature review papers, and it is very comprehensive, and it only talks standalone work, means that can take different forms and serve slightly different purposes. Okay, so literature review found in the journals, okay. We have articles. We have means that standalone journal studies articles and literature review articles, okay? Of course, we have case studies and then notes and description, but the most popular one is the articles, this, I mean that empirical research and literature review research. It introduces research related to the specific topic, okay, shorter than a standalone review, narrow in scope, and often used to get to set research precedent and supporting theory. What does it mean? It means that we need to talk about, we start with the, I mean that introduction part. So what does it mean we start with the introduction part? Means that you have some idea about your research, you will bring some background of that, and then you will need to write, for example, 1 page at maximum about that topic. And the way that you write is start from very general one, then you will choose, for example, if you are talking about, again, sustainable, your research is for example, environmental or ecological matters with human population, then in the broader aspect you will talk about the sustainability, and then ecological and environmental matters is, we can mention it is a component of the sustainability, which can be, for example, coming in the 3rd paragraph. Means that you will like a funnel, and then start from very general and coming to the down, that at the end you will reach to your hypothesis. This is a part of in the business management. This is, for example, R&D is the innovation is the dependent variable, and CO attributes is independent variable. In the literature review section, which is reach to the hypothesis section, first COH, one of the attributes of the CO, one of the sections of CO's attribute. So means that we talk generally and then go narrow down that this one will be our hypothesis. And then as a whole, we can see that in the empirical research, the introduction and the literature review is somehow combined together, okay? Because we are, and if you can see some articles, maybe they even don't have the literature review section, because they put the information needed in the introduction, or they might separate it as well. But you mean as a whole, you need to have the idea of your literature review, how to write the literature review section. So you will start from the background of your study topic, then you will use any terminologies, then you narrow your categories. For example, as I told you, if you are talking about CO2 emission, then it comes from the sustainability matters. Maybe you can start from the sustainability, and then when you make it closer to your research questions, then you can make it talk about CO2 emissions. And then finally, you will reach the hypothesis. This is mostly happening in the quantitative papers. In the qualitative papers is a theory development. We are in the quantitative, we are testing a theory. In the qualitative, we are developing a theory. So means that you from a very small items, you will reach the higher. But the literature review should be used in this way. Okay. Now we know what is the journal studies articles. The second type is the standalone literature reviews. What is the standalone literature reviews? As I told you, they can be systematics, they can be meta-analysis, description literature reviews. We have many types. I just mentioned. So in these kinds of paper, it's very good for researchers that they don't have any idea of that topic, and it helps for that initial researcher to find a ways and from just make a list and summarize previous and relevant field of studies and find a topic, find a title based on that topic. So because it presents and analyzes as much relevant literature as possible to explain. And they are excellent resources for initial research about an area or topic, and it's broader in scope. And all sections refer to the literature rather than one specific study. As a whole, you can see that mostly in the standalone literature, we concentrate on the methods and the results and theories of previous study. We don't talk about introduction and discussion. They mostly summarize that which method they have used, what theory they have used, and what data analysis, what is the software, what is the methods for doing that. These are the things are mostly highlighted in previous studies. Okay, this is a sample of the critical review of the literature. This one related to this, I mean that medical literature, and you can see about the heart failure and apoptosis. Which is different, you can see different titles, headings here. All of these headings are a literature review based on previous studies, okay? And the conclusion coming here is it ties all of these headings together, and the authors critically analyze and make a contribution for only just this study. So as a whole, if we want to summarize, literature review, it's not a linear process. What does it mean? It means that you might go and write, and then suddenly you will go back and then correct something. You reformulate your ideas many times during your research, and then work on the literature before, during, and after your study. You may now today, you just try your best, write, and then close your book, and then tomorrow or the day after, you will find that, okay, your idea will be refreshed and you will find new ways. Even your searching will be different. And you can try, I don't know, you have tried this one, but you can try it. That sometimes that you think that you are very tired, you cannot write any literature review, and you feel headache, just close it and just leave it without thinking it, and just do it again tomorrow. I'm sure that you will come back and then revise many sections, and your idea will be open. You will find new ways, you will find new articles. These steps that we have talked can be applied in all types of literature reviews. Okay, so now in this step, so far we have just discussed what is the good literature review, what should the literature review should have, what should not have, And now we want to talk about that. Just imagine you want to write a literature review. What steps you should follow to write a literature review? It can be used in all types of literature reviews, but those steps are very similar to each other. So it means that the similarity between the steps is high. You need to just follow, that's it. First one is to choose a topic, focus or explore this topic. What does it mean? You need to find a topic, right? Without, you have some ideas that you want to write, but you don't know how to write. So in this way, you need to choose it. What the kinds of topics you should find? Find topics that are familiar to you. What topics are you interested, okay? And then find topics that are very up to date, topics that are in the current research areas. And maybe you can find even the topics in the news. Maybe you can find in the latest research articles that what is discussion. Maybe one topic is interesting for you. For example, I'm telling again about, for example, sustainability and, for example, psychological aspects. Then, for example, this one might be interesting that you don't know how to do. Maybe you can read some literature review papers. Then you will find some more detailed topics in these fields. And what the first step is to find what is interested for you. And important thing is that what topics is interested for others to read, because if you just write something that is in your interest, but if you don't have any that you don't have any listeners, so means that your citation of your paper will be very low. And we not know the good research is that it is interested for others to read as well. So you need to pay attention to hot topics. So how you can narrow your topic and select papers accordingly, okay? Consider your specific area of study. Think about what interests you and what interests other researchers in your field, as I told you before. Even you can ask from the seniors, you can ask from your supervisors, you can ask from the professors in this field. For example, if you are in any fields of engineering, you want to do a research, you are not sure, maybe you can ask seniors, you can ask your supervisor, you can ask your friends that they have done many research activities. Maybe they have some new areas. They can open your minds to find that what kinds of topics can be interested for you. You can make a list, and then finally you can choose your interest. Then you can just search for that topic and find that, okay, it's interesting. Okay, that topic might be interested for you. Then you need to academically search for that topic to find that it is interested for others as well. That I will tell you how you can find that it is interested for others as well or not. Okay, this is for example, if you have access to the Scopus, you will put for example, as an example, I'm interested in sustainable development practices. Okay, I want to see that how this topic is relevant, how is new, and is it interested for other researchers to still do the research or no. I put it in the Scopus and put it in the article title abstract. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just search. You can see that you have how many number of the documents, okay? So you want to see that, okay, this number of documents is so high. You want to see that, is it still very interested or no? So you will go to the analyze search result, and you will see the results. You can see there is a very upward growing trend of your research. As you can see from here, you can see that in 2021 is the highest, okay, and in 2022 is still this, we are in the middle of the year and nearly, so means that it is estimated that by the end of the year in 2022, even the number of the citations, the number of the documents will be higher. So it is still very hot topic. So I think that you can find it and go. So this is the way, one of the ways that you can search that. We have, you can do it also in Web of Science as well, if you have access based on your library. So now let's imagine that you have find that your topic, you find that which topic is in your area of an interest, and for not only for you, for other researchers as well. Then when you find it, now it's time to go to the next step. So what is the next step? The next step is to research and collect scholarly information and sources. So you need to find the relevant information and relevant articles, sources, books in your fields to study. That you need, because only the topic is not important, then you need to find the background, you need to find the theory, you need to find your research questions, you need to find a justification why you are doing the for the purpose of a study. All of them can be considered in the step 2. Okay, so you can see that it is a collection of the scholarly articles, books, conference papers, dissertations, and all of them are calling the literature. Here you should be a hunting cap, right? You should be a hunting cap, put your hunting cap and then do the research as possible, because you need to find resources for answering your questions. Otherwise, how you want to do your research? And without that, it's not possible. So the important thing is that to hunt the existing research, okay, in your topic. So how you want to do this, collect the articles? There are many ways, right? I'm sure that you have worked with the Google Scholar, which is free. You can find many literature, and I suggest that to use the Google Scholar. This is very good source of database. And then from that, you can snowball journal articles to go deeper. What does it mean? It means that after you just search, and you will select, decide which journals or articles are related to your field. You don't need to read whole articles, you just read the abstract and the title. And if you feel that it are suitable, make a folder in your computer or sections, and then put it very organized. Even any books, dissertations, or any terminologies, any new things, just make it as a list for yourself. So as a whole, Google Scholar, because it's academically used, you can find relevant journal articles. You can even, how you can find, you can type the keywords or similar keywords to the journal articles to find a relevant articles. Maybe, for example, sustainability can be, if I again make an example, you can have sustainability, you can maybe have it SDG, you can maybe have it ESG, maybe you can have it Sustainable Development Goals, maybe you can have it CSR. You need to play with the keywords in order to find the good journals related to your study. And most valuably, it tells you how many times each article has been cited. Okay, yes, in the Google Scholar, you will have the citations. So you will see that how many scholars will be cited. Sometimes you need high citations articles for the backbone of your study in order to make your study very powerful. Just rely on the very good journals. If you are writing something, you need to, your source should be all high good impact factors articles in good journals. Otherwise, you will be in a very bad trouble later. You cannot publish your work very well. Even in your maybe you cannot understand. Maybe when you use the low citation, low quality papers, then later you might feel that that paper have many similarities with good papers. So you need to be careful. Even you are you're writing a thesis or writing an article, both you need to be very careful about choosing a suitable articles. Two important things is you need to pay attention the citations, the articles that have been used, and then another one is pay attention in the second step, the current research up to the 5 or 6 recent years. And okay, some journals are free to use in the Google Scholar. Some you need to access to your library database to use them. Okay. And then evaluate the sources. You don't need to read the whole research. Read the abstract in this step only when you find, because you are going to collect the scholarly articles to later read them. You don't need to read them fully in this step. You want to just select. So just read the abstracts and the items. And look at the bibliography of the publication for the relevant sources, and observe the number of high citations count. Okay, this is an example in the Google Scholars. For example, the effects of COVID-19 and psychological effects. Okay, just when I click this one, this will happen. You can see here is the latest, if I just click on the, for example, since 2018, any article since 2018 will become first. Or if I click on the since 2020, any article from 2020 comes first. Later in the next pages will come to the in other years. But if you are finding good articles for choosing your selecting your articles, you can leave it. You can leave it, put it anytime, and to see what articles have the highest citations, what are the topics, and then if you want to later find the relevant articles, you can just make it specific in the latest years. So from this list, you can see that, for example, this article, it has the cited by 2,975. Okay, you can see that. So means that, for example, this article can be a good source. It can be, you can see that in their abstract, they have mentioned about our title or topic as well. So if even you want to find a specific topics, you need to point it in the quotations in the Google Scholar if you want to exactly find that topic. Otherwise, any similar in the title, keyword, abstract, it will come into the list. Okay, so I think, for example, if I'm doing this topic, this might be helpful for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm just want to check this article, which is relevant. It is good for me to use or no. So the citation is good. I will choose this paper. And you can see that even it is 2020 because it's the COVID-19. Okay, now I will go click on this article, right? The Journal of Affects. So I will click on this. Click on the title. I want to check the journal, whether the journal is trustable for my research or not. This is the journal. First of all, I'm going to say, yes, this is good. It's Science Direct, good publisher. Then Elsevier is publisher. And then the abstract is here. Or when I found, okay, this is suitable for my research. Okay, now I want to check the article, the journal itself. So what I'm going to do, I will go to the Scopus database. If you have access to the Scopus database based on your library, or even now in this step, I think it's free to use to check the journal. No need to have access to the source checking. You will go to the sources, put the journal name here, and then you make a click. Then you found this article, okay? Then you can click on this article, and you will find that, okay, this is CITES score is high, so this is good journal, so it is trustable and very good. So even you can also search with SCI Mago, okay? How? This is the website. You can put the article's name, and you can see the H index, and as well as the quarter, it's Q1. So this is good journal. Also, you can, if you have access to the Web of Science, you can check it as well. You put the journal name, you can see the journal name is also here. You click on the journal, and then this happens to you. The impact factor of the journal is happened, a 5-year impact factor, and the category in the clinicals and all other sizes is Q1. So it is good journal. Then I'm going, and if you are doing, this is also ABDC, Australian Business Deans Council. This is, of course, you shouldn't find this article. You know why? Because the ABDC is related to the business. Anything that, for example, even in engineering, anything that can be related, anything to the management and business or similar to that, you can find in ABDC, because it's based on Australian Business Deans Council, and it is very popular. And it is where, if you are going to, for example, Australia, then you need to, they will check whether they have ABDC journal, you have ABDC publication or no. And ABS, which is for the UK, and this is also for the business schools. Okay. And okay. And then, so as I told you, the Google Scholar is free to use, okay? And it is easily available for all databases. Mostly when you want to select the articles, okay, Scopus, Web of Science, and other, maybe you do not have access. You need to check with your library, that the library have this access or no. Okay. This is, for example, the access that I'm going with my university. And then, because later when I want to download based on the Scopus database, I need to have access. Some journals are not free, and that's why we need to have access for them. Same as Web of Science. Okay. So now let's imagine that you have good base of literature on there, and now you have to go to the next step. What is the next step? The next step is to analyze the network information, okay, and select the works. And so means that you need to find the maps and charts to identify intersections in the research and outline important categories, okay? And then in this step, you will collect your mother articles, okay? You will, after a scheme and scan based on the abstract journals, you just collect them in your folder, and some of the articles that can be your keys, can help you in your way. So these materials you need to select for your review. You need to even print out, and then you're putting it as a more emphasized. Then the next step is to describe and summarize each selected article, okay? So what to do means that now determine in these in articles that you find that is very suitable for you, you can use it as your doing your own way. Then determine 2 or 3 concepts on them, and then emphasize on that, not just simply explain. For example, in study 1, they found that there is a relationship between X and Y. No, you need to critically discuss what is the conclusion, what is just match it with your own purpose of the study in this step. And you need to summarize all important articles and take notes for yourself, okay? Okay, and then the next step is to describe and summarize each article again. And we continue to this step, means that read the selected articles thoroughly and evaluate them. Evaluate and synthesize the study's findings and conclusion. And find what kinds of methodology have been done. What are the hypotheses? What are the theories? What kinds of material? You need to summarize all of them, and then find what are the gaps, what are the problem statements, what are the findings, how you can match between these things. So how you can summarize. One of the ways to do that, I will tell you in the next step, that demonstrate how concepts in the literature relate to the results, establish how the literature is connected. Once you have built a little treasure trove of articles, it's time to get reading and start digesting the information. What does it all mean? Okay. So, for example, in the literature review section for the article, you need to find the missing parts based on the previous. Your reading of the articles are very narrow, right? But what you are going to do, you are going to find the missing parts there and then match it to your own study. Highlight concepts that support your hypothesis, okay? What kinds of methods, results, and conclusion, and what you are going to do for them. This is important. And in the systematic, in the literature review studies, in this article, you need to mostly make it more comprehensive. Highlight the concepts in each article and show how they strengthen a hypothesis or show a pattern. Identify and address issues in previous studies, and identify what is accurate and what is out of scope within these works. Now, after that, you are ready to find the golden thread. What is the golden, in this step 6 is identify the relationship in the literature and connect your own ideas to them. So what does it mean? Means that your hypotheses, your arguments, your concepts, all consider as a golden thread. So what does it mean? It means that you need to work together. You need to find the answer for your research question. But the important thing is that you need to know where to put research question, where to put your hypotheses, where to put your problems and your discussions and conclusion. You need to match all of it. There is no separate things each other. If you are talking in the literature review and then your hypothesis coming, definitely your discussion supports that one. Means that many of the citations repeated in the discussion. Why? Because you are talking about something in the literature review. Now in your findings should be justified, because you are the person that play with these items. You are the person that develop the literature based on your own study. You just choose, for example, if you are talking about a positive hypothesis, you mostly talk about the similar context in this term that evaluate a positive and justify the reasons why there is a positive relationship. So, and of course you can put some negative points as well. But these days the articles have been very squeezed. Even we have good journals, maybe even IEEE journals that you are writing in the engineering course, 5,000, 6,000, 4,000. So it's not too much. So you need to deliver your items very nicely, without missing any points, but very short. So that's why you need to be very smart to match all of these together, because as I told you, you can see that all of them are together. You are the person to choose which one is suitable for your section now. And when your house develop, then after that you need to start organizing the information. Okay, so we have different ways to organize a literature review by the chronological, by the date. Means that you can write from older to the recent publication. You can write from broad to the specific, prominent authors. Then thematic, based on the theories, based on the methodologies, based on these things. Also, all in those steps, pay attention to the reference style, and we have different reference style and different software even to help you to follow the reference styles as well. For example, Mendeley or EndNotes or Google Scholar, even they are good for how to do your citations. I'm just telling, in the Google Scholar, you can click on the citations, and then you can see that it has some, we can even just put it in the EndNotes even, or you can even use the APA style, Harvard styles, and so on as well. So if your literature review is very extensive, find a large table and and put all of your notes on that, or put it all of the cards. Organize the selected paper by looking over the patterns and developing subtopics. So I'm not sure that you have been familiar with the literature review matrix. So means that this is the content analysis, we can also call it. Then you will summarize all of the findings, relevant, suitable findings. You put the author, what theories they have used, what is the research question, hypothesis, what is the methodology, analysis, conclusion, implication, and practical implication. Then you will make the summary and read them carefully, and you will find, okay, in this way, the analysis, for example, ANOVA is the best. For example, they have done many of them, ANOVA. Okay, so you can find your ways very easily in what theories is the mostly theory used, which kinds of methods have been used, and so on. This is also another example about content analysis. And then you can write it we have one software with the mind mapping software that you can just develop all of your ideas, or even you can put it in a whiteboard, in a piece of paper, and then match all of your ideas and findings, and then before start your writing. This will help you to make your mind very organized. Then you start writing based on your findings, your summaries, and start writings and critically discuss your research questions based on the previous articles. And I'm giving you one examples that two passages have been done by student A and student B. One of them is critically evaluate the paper by comparing and contrasting. Another one just simply describe the literature review. Let's see which one is better. And of course, that one is comparing and contrasting is more better and suitable in your area. This is student A, student B. As you can see, student A start with Smith 2000 conclude that the personal privacy in the living, just reporting, as you can see. He suggests that it's like an essay, okay? And then he starts with the second author. But student B critically analyzed after studying residents and staff from 2 intermediate care facilities, Smith came to the conclusion that this one. However, French believe that one. You can see that they just match their idea. They have idea and then they use the literature aligned with the ideas. They don't just simply describe the literature review. This is the literature review you should use. Critically discuss in your articles. And when you finish your work, leave it away for 1 or 2 days, and then ask your friends to read, or if anyone has pay attention, even that you don't have similarities, because proofread your paper and send it to, you can send it to the proofreaders, or ask your friends, your supervisor, your seniors, your colleagues to read and discuss. So now let's go to frequently asked questions. What types of questions can be used? Okay, how long should be the literature review? It depends on your topic and how narrow or specific your topic is. But for, for the literature review papers, maybe 2 or 3 pages can be enough, averagely. For empirical articles, maybe between 1 page or 2 to 5 paragraphs. It is estimations. How many sources should I review? It depends, again, your scope of topic. If you are using a very broad scope, you need to have more papers to read and discuss. If your area of talking is very narrow, you need to just select some articles needed. Of course, for some concepts and some others, you need to have some references, that backbone research as well. So tips for creating a strong literature review. Clearly define your topic and audience first. Read many literature reviews and articles. Focus on more current literature and find new and up-to-date theories and methodologies, and take note while reading their literature. You can also use Excel or content analysis for summary of your work, which helps you to organize your thinking. Okay. And these are some of the notes that can be used. And thank you so much for listening to the presentation. You can, if you have any question later, you can even contact me. And this is my LinkedIn ID. All the best. I leave it to you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, ma'am. I think we have a question in the question answer session box.
Okay.
Let me read it out to you. Imagine I need Web of Science and Scopus database for bibliometric analysis, and my university don't have subscription. What can I do? Which support could you give me?
To be honest, if you don't have the access to the Scopus or Web of Science, you need to ask your friends to help you if they have others or any other colleagues or researchers, because if you don't have access to these databases, you cannot do the biblio. It's very hard. You cannot manually do it through the Google Scholar and so on, because in the Scopus and Web of Science, they have, you just download all the files in the Excel. So means that you need to have access for that. So if not, you can maybe ask some other friends from some other universities that can access, or of course, you can find a way, but without accessing to these databases, you cannot easily do that. It is possible. You can do it manually, or you can do it from the Google Scholar. Some of the researchers do not only do it with Scopus or Web of Science. I have seen some articles they have done with Google Scholars, but those articles taking time more, because even the Google Scholar database is much more. It is the combinations of all databases. So I suggest you to find a way for that one first. Otherwise, you can do it by the Google Scholar.
If any other participants have any questions, you can either raise your hands and put it up in the question box. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for this session. We have come to the end of the FTP. It has been a great pleasure conducting this 5-day FTP. We thank our co-host, New Horizon College of Engineering, Bangalore, and Malla Reddy Engineering College, Hyderabad, all the keynote speakers who have delivered very informative session. Lastly, I thank all the attendees for your cooperation. We will be conducting the next FTP in the month of December. Stay tuned for much more events like this. Thank you all. And also we have, I am putting up the feedback form. I've already put up the feedback form in the chat. Kindly do fill up. Thank you all.